Hey there, witches! Welcome back to Witches the Moon. I'm your Monday host, Natalie, and today is week 20, and we are talking about hexes and cursing. There's a lot of controversy on this topic, but I'm going to give you my perspective. This is simply my opinion, and you don't have to abide by it. You cannot heal if you cannot kill, right? That's the old phrase. And what that simply means is you need to at least understand the fundamentals of hexing and cursing, why it's done and how it's done, in order to hold that within your power. Because if you don't truly understand something, you can't counteract it either. There are many different types of maledictive magic that are out there, and you don't know how to counteract it if you don't understand the nature of what you're battling, right? Do I curse and hex? Typically, no, I do not. And a lot of people are going, well, what's the difference? A lot of times you see those terms used interchangeably. For me, there is a difference, and this is how I define it in my head. For me, a hex is something short-term that you do to someone to cause immediate discomfort or pain. It's usually short-lived. It's usually just like a spate of bad luck or something like that. And it's usually a lot easier to negate. A curse, to me, is something that's far more serious, that's deeper and longer lasting, and can be transgenerational. That is when you are really ticked, and it takes a lot of energy to put that kind of malediction forward. So that is how I define the two terms. Probably should have started out with that. Curses are a lot harder to break or to counteract because of the amount of energy that went into it. But again, just because I don't do them doesn't mean that I have never done them or will never do them. I may feel the need to at some point in time. Typically what I do is something a little less serious in nature. I may do a binding spell to keep someone from interjecting something or to just keep their mouth shut or keep them out of my way. I have done mirror box spells, which are kind of like I would akin it to a return to sender spell. Basically what it is you are creating a box in which that person has to reflect upon their own behavior. And you want to make sure you don't catch yourself in that box, but it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes reflecting on your behavior is a very good thing, but it makes the person see themselves for who they really are, and hopefully that prompts them to change whatever behavior they're putting out there, right? Now, a return to sender spell is something that's a little bit more serious in nature, and what that is when someone is sending something really negative to you, you are sending it right on back to them. That's a return to sender spell, and there are some people that believe that any form of maledictive magic should never be done. I disagree. I think that there are times and seasons when it is justified or when it is even necessary in order to put a stop to something that is negative happening to you or someone in your immediate circle, someone you care about, right? I do not do hexes and curses for people for money. I think that that is in poor taste, and I think it's bad form, especially because something that serious requires a lot of thought, it requires a lot of energy, and really, when I do spell work for people, I don't really do the spell work for them. What I do is I provide them the tools, including the words, and I let them do it for themselves. I do not typically sell maledictive spell kits to people because I don't want to have my magic tied in with anything that might cause serious harm or discomfort to someone else. I just think that there are better ways to use my magic. But it's not to say that it can't be done or should never be done. I have done some spells where I have had people reflect on, well, like I said, I did a mirror box spell, but there are other spells where you can make people see themselves. I talked last season in our Share Spell Week about the True Colors spell with the candle that drips the multiple colors. I really like that spell because I think that that's not at all maledictive. Having someone show their true colors is often very revealing for that person and can prompt a change in bad behavior, which I think is a good thing. But there are people that would tell you that that is a maledictive type of spell, somewhat akin to a hex. You can take it as that. I don't consider it that, but other people do. Now, in terms of actually hexing someone, I can think of one instance where I did. Let me explain. It was a business. It wasn't so much an individual. It was a business. There is a business here, a moving company that we hired to move. We had to make a sudden move. We had to be out within the week. There was mold in the building. The landlord was being a total a-hole about it and told us that if we wanted to get out of the lease, we had to be out by the end of the week. Well, that did not give us a lot of time to A, find another office, and B, find a moving company. And everybody was already booked up except for this one company. And they were the most horrible company I've ever had to work with. They charged us nearly $1,000 for the move. They were an hour and a half late getting there, and I didn't even get a phone call till about 5 minutes before they were there. We had already moved all of the furniture, most of the furniture, all except for like 4 pieces of really heavy furniture. But Harold and I had moved everything from the office into the entryway. So all they had to do was load it on the truck. I mean, we did half the work for them. It took them 6 hours to do that move. Yes, 6, which is why we were charged so much. They had a 1-hour minimum, of course, and it was ridiculously priced. Then on top of that, they were talking smack the entire time. They damaged almost every single piece of our furniture, including totally breaking the hutch that went over the credenza on Harold's desk. So it was a total loss. We ended up having to chuck it into the garbage can because it was broken into pieces. We got no compensation for that. So and we were missing drawers to one of our desks that you have to have. The drawers of the desk won't hold. It's a drafting table. And they kept insisting that they'd given us back the drawers. And I told them, no, you didn't, because if you did, they would be here. And this desk is useless without it. It's a drafting table. Finally, 3 days later, they find the drawers buried in the truck under the blankets. So I went to the office to pick them up. And at that point, I had a sigil on a piece of paper like this. And I did stick it under the desk that their business would receive multiple bad reviews and would suffer. And that I did do. But that was on the business, not so much on the individuals. Now, what you have to keep in mind is a business is an organization comprised of individuals. And what hurts one will hurt them all, right? So I didn't feel too bad about that, simply because they had not taken great care with my things after I had hired them and paid them a phenomenal amount of money. I got no compensation, really, for the damage. And like I said, they damaged every single piece of property, including breaking out an entire hutch that went on a credenza. So I felt very justified in that. Don't feel bad about it. Don't think anything bad came out of it, frankly. Now, when you are doing hexes and cursing, there are ways to mitigate the reflection. I've often explained it like this. To me, magic is like you're sitting in a boat in the middle of a lake and you throw a rock into the lake. It ripples out from the source. Now, once it hits the shore, it ripples back to the source. But in my opinion, it's attenuated. It's softened. You know, it doesn't come back with the same force that it went out with, right? However, there are ways that you can stop that from getting back to you by putting a barrier, a dam around yourself, right? So if you put up the right kinds of protections, the amount of effect you get back from your own magic is going to be mitigated. Can't say that it's going to be entirely eliminated, but for the most part, you can attenuate it to the point that it's not, you don't even feel the effects. However, I find that hexing and cursing is really mostly unnecessary. There are many other ways to go about doing things to achieve an action. Like I said, doing a cutoff spell or a true color spell or something of that nature would be by far better for you. You're going to feel better about it, usually. And you'll find that it's usually all that's necessary. And it's going to take a lot less of your energy to do that than it is to do something like a hex or a curse. So, I've defined it in my terms. I've given you some examples. I've told you why I don't particularly feel the need to do it, but why you need to understand it. Because if you feel that you're being hexed or cursed in some way, you need to be able to divine where that magic's coming from, figure out the source, and then you'll understand the nature of it better, and you can put a stop to it and protect yourself. But I don't feel that people are under hexes and curses as often as other people might try to make them feel. Believe me, you will know because it will be different. It's sort of like how you know you're in love and he or she's the one. Same kind of thing. You're going to know because the nature of the luck is going to be different and it will feel different. So keep that in mind. All right. I hope that you guys got something out of this video. I realize it's a little bit short and it's a little late and going up. It's almost noon, but I hope you'll forgive me. I hope that it was educational, and I hope that you will keep that in mind when you're out there doing your magic. Thank you so much, and blessed be.